transportation during the time of schools, and we can't drive close to the building. So when we have one of our that can't make it as fast as we can.
Slow but sure.
But anyway, I would like to call a Hope County Board of Education meeting for June 27 to order at this time. And we will have our invocation by Keisha Gill.
Please bow heads. We thank you, most gracious Father, for this day. Thank you for allowing us to come together again to discuss plans for our Hope County School District, Lord. As we go into this meeting, Lord, help us to make a good decision and a sound decision for our Hope County School District, Lord. We thank you for this day, and we thank you for the presenters on today, Lord. And we give you all the praise and glory and honor in Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen. Next on our agenda is approval of our agenda for today. May we get a motion, please?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda for today.
May we get a second?
Second.
Been moved and properly second that we approve our agenda for today. All in favor, let me know by sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. So our agenda, we have proposed to be approved. And at this time, I will turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Dallas.
Good morning, Madam Chair and everyone. Thank you for coming today. The purpose of our meeting with one information item is to conduct our interviews for CM at Risk for our Hope County High School project that we're very excited about. We're excited to start with MetCon this morning. I'm going to have our board just introduce themselves to you so you know who everybody is, and then I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce your team. Okay, so Ms. Pickett, do you want to start?
I'm Irish Pickett, Chair.
Rose McAllister, McCray, Vice Chair.
Chad Hoon, Assistant Superintendent of Operations.
Scott Myers, Facility Director.
Keisha Gill, School Board Member.
Della Mann, School Board Member.
Barbara Boyd, School Board Member.
And we do want to recognize our chair of our commissioners, Mr. Alan Thomas. Thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. So for today, we want to start off by being very transparent. We will not be making any decisions today. We will be taking that to our next board meeting for an approval. So just to be completely upfront, but we're excited that you are here. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Thomas to let you introduce your team.
Thank you, ma'am. So I'm Aaron Thomas, President of MetCon, and we'll start on behalf of MetCon and J&K Construction, our partner. I want to thank you guys, Madam Chair, Superintendent, Commissioner, and all the school board members for inviting us to be here this morning. I want to just start over here with Charles. I think you guys may or may not know who he is. Just let everybody introduce themselves and tell who you're with and what your role is on the project. We'll just put it this way.
Hello, I'm Keisha P.A. I'm the project manager with MetCon. Good morning, I'm Tia Hudson, I'm the hub coordinator.
Ryan Parker, Project Executive.
John Ford, Superintendent of MetCon.
Marquise Mason, Project Engineer.
Brandon Harper, Pre-Construction Manager.
Steve Phillips, J&K, Assistant Planning.
And I didn't, and tell them where you went to school at, Marquis. Before we get started, let's go ahead and clear that.
Oh, yeah. Got to whip out my own baseball. Very proud to be here and excited to get the chance to interview for this project. So thank you so much.
You still have that?
Oh, yeah, I got that one too.
Outstanding, thank you.
Thank you, guys. So we've got a brief presentation, about 20 minutes, and then we'd love to, talk, just have a conversation to answer any questions you have after that. So in our presentation this morning, what we're going to, and I'm going to sit down because I don't want you guys to not be able to see it.
Wherever you feel free to, whatever you want.
Well, I don't want to block you. Okay. But this morning, kind of the theme when we were thinking about this project, and we're thinking about what was needed and necessary to be able to execute it. One word really came to mind. That word was experience. So Albert Einstein said that the only source of knowledge is experience. And when you hear from everyone on this up here this morning, that's going to be presenting to you, and each one of the topics that we present, they're coming from us having deep experience in not just working with you guys here in Hope County, from Sandy Grove, obviously, but also in all of the projects that came after Sandy Grove, that really Sandy Grove was the foundation for. So the foundation was built right here in Hope County. And a lot of these projects that we're going to talk about today that we've done since then, but the foundation was here. And so our base of experience and knowledge started here. You're going to hear about how we've just built on that knowledge, and that experience is going to translate to what's needed to be successful for what, no doubt, is the largest and most important project that's been undertaken here. So a little bit about Metcon, and I'll go fast because I think everybody knows us, but our headquarters is in Pembroke, so we're local here, but we also have an office in Raleigh and also in Charlotte and National Harbor, Maryland. But we are the largest minority contractor in the Carolinas. Lumbion, we got right around 100 employees, and we build education facilities. A lot of schools, a lot of higher education buildings all across the Carolinas. We were in 2011 and 13 under President Obama, we were awarded National Minority Construction Firm of the Year. So there's one firm in the United States that's awarded that. We're very proud to have been awarded that. That's Secretary of Commerce Penny Pritzker that was presenting us that in 2013. So experience. Our experience, different from other folks that you may hear from today, is in this area. Now, do we work all over North Carolina, South Carolina, and a little in other places? We do. But the bulk of the work that we've done is in this hashed area. You know, whether it's working here at Sandy Grove, whether it's building a new James A. Leach Aquatic Center for the county, whether it's building other education and governmental facilities in this circle. You may hear from other folks that'll say, I built a project or two in this circle over my entire career. Metcon's experience is we have built hundreds of projects here, and that's what will translate to success. So when you look around, you know, Cumberland County, Robinson, Hoke, and look at all of the large facilities that have been built using cement risk, almost all of them have been built by us. I'd say over 90%. Also, when you look at K-12 schools, and your chosen delivery method, 90% of our work is cement risk, and 90% of our work is in educational environments. So this is what we do. K-12 experience, we've completed 27 new schools, over 800 million in K-12 projects. And then additionally, with your chosen design firm, SFLA Architects, we've built 11 K-12 schools and over $600 million worth of work just with your architect that you've chosen. Obviously, something that's near and dear to our hearts is Sandy Grove Middle School. Sandy Grove was the first privatized energy positive school in the nation. Sandy Grove, the year that when we finished it, won one school in the whole country, won the best K-12 school in the whole United States by Engineering News and Record, as well as many other. And then, you know, more important than all that is, you know, what it's been able to do, you know, for the students here in Hope County and all the different stories that we've heard about all the great things that are happening in the school. So we just thank you guys for that. But as I said, this is the foundation. And that foundation built many more energy positive schools across the Carolinas. These were in Wayne County, then 5 in Horry County. And I think you guys may have gone to visit this one, which is St. James Intermediate up in the top left. But all 5 of these schools were built off of the Horry County prototype. And I understand from talking to SFLA that the layout and the way the building is put together for your school, what's being proposed, is based on this similar open concept. And so you're going to hear the team talk a lot today about how our experience has been the only people that have ever built this, and building an energy positive is going to be very important to the success of your project. After that, we went over to Jones County and did a K-12 kindergarten through 12th grade campus that incorporated 4 schools into one, and 2 elementaries, a middle, and a high school. Also energy positive. And then the other thing that's great about these projects is they all incorporate Energy Wise Club. And there's nothing any better than seeing you know, young students that after they've been in the building for a few months and have been in the club can walk around and tell you every single part about how these buildings operate just as good as any of us can. And so it's not just about being a good building and a building that obviously generates more energy and consumes, but it's also about teaching the next generation about STEM careers. So with that, I want to turn it over to Ryan Parker, who was actually the project manager on Sandy Grove Middle School, to introduce, well, we really already introduced the team, but to continue with our presentation.
Thanks, Aaron. Good to see everybody this morning. Like Aaron said, I started my career with Metcon at Sandy Grove, and it's been pretty awesome. I've taken that with the team, right? We've gone to Wayne County, built 2, then to Horry County and built 5, Jones County. Keisha just got done building the school for SFLA at Irwin, and Marquise is currently building a school for Northwest Harnett Elementary for SFLA as well. So a lot of great things have come out of Sandy Grove, and it's great to be back with you guys today. So like Aaron said, when we sat down and I thought about what it takes as a company, right, to be successful in building a Horry County prototype, there's really these 5 main things. So first one is you have to have built it before. They're complicated schools for good reason. They're beautiful. They have great clear storage spaces. That takes a little bit more coordination, a little bit more effort than kind of a standard school. You must have a detailed plan to not impact the campus. You're going to hear John talk later today about our experience in building on tight sites and never having any issues. And it's really comes down to communication and the plan that we lay out with the school. In this time, right, everyone I think's heard about it. You go to the store and buy milk, you buy eggs. Things are expensive right now. So the only way we're going to be able to get a school in budget is relationships. So I think you heard Aaron mention Keisha's right down the road building the aquatic center. She knows these contractors. She knows how to negotiate with them to get the best value for your project. Again, Brandon will speak about how we're going to make sure that we get in front of the supply chain issues. It's difficult, but we've had experience doing that as of late. And in the past, to close, excuse me, right? Go with who has delivered for you before. We've delivered for Hope County, and we'd love the opportunity to do it again. So this is just an example of what we've done after every job we've completed with SFLA on schools. We sit down and we make these lessons learned. There's hundreds of sheets of this, right? And what that allows us to do is get out in front of the problems of design, say, no, if we need to do it this way because of X or Y. So we have all that information. The prototype itself, St. James. So one of the things that's super important right now, you're going to hear Brandon speak on, is speed to market, right? The quicker we can get it done, the quicker we can get in front of inflation. So in terms of schedule, we know the problems areas. This is actually the schedule from St. James Intermediate School. And we're not perfect, right? So the other great thing about having built this before is we know where we messed up on certain things. So there's plan versus actual. No one else can come to the table with that information. And then submittals, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So in terms of the structural sequencing, right? These are complicated buildings. You have glue lamps, you have steel, you have everything. We know how to lay it out. We know how to make it work. Just a shot of the interior spaces. And I think we want to highlight on this because of what it takes to get here. This is the pretty picture at the end, right? So one of the things that how we get there and how we get in front of lead time issues right now is hollow core panels. You have to know what you're doing with them. Not everyone's built with them before, but we have a lot of experience in building with them, and it allows us to get structure up quickly. So this is a snapshot, that pretty picture we just saw before. This was us building it prior, right? So you have load-bearing CMU, load-bearing steel. These blue lamp beams are from Portland, Oregon. They come over on trains. You have to have special permits to shut the roads down. There's a lot that goes into this. And then finally on top, we have cold form light gauge trusses that kind of make up this overall package here. So submittal knowledge. This is again the submittal, some more pictures of these glue lamp beams here. So we've been through these submittals. We've already got them reviewed and approved once, which allows us to go much quicker if we do it again. Even down to basketball goals, right? So because of those big, open, awesome, beautiful expanses, there's little issues. Typically, you would go take a basketball hoop in a structure and you would strap it to the underside of a bar joist. You can't do that with these glue lamps. I can't see it here that well, but we had to have these specially engineered with the basketball hoop manufacturer. So there's these little things, right? These little nuances that play into this building that the team has experience doing. MEP coordination. These are cutting edge buildings. They have a lot of complicated mechanical systems, and the beauty of those complicated mechanical systems is that the energy is so much less, right? But you have to know how to put them in. We have all of the BIM drawings. You'll hear Keisha speak to that later. This is one of my things that I'm proud of. So that journey Aaron told you about, Sandy Grove to Wayne County, to Horry County, to Jones County, I actually helped SFLA develop the protocols that go into the drawings, right, that help us programmable breakers for shutting the lights off, integrated lighting controls, all these different things. They're complicated, and it takes experience and how do I write that subcontract to the sub? How do I put what in what package? So again, some more about energy positive aspects if we decide to go that route, as you know, money, time allows. This is an example of some geothermal well fields. So these geothermal well fields fill back into the building to these integrated controls. And that's one of the great things that sets Robbie and SFLA's design apart, is some of these cutting edge things to get your energy bills down. Picture of Mr. Thomas here and Elijah. This is actually Jones County. So there's no one else in the country who's installed more rooftop solar than we have. There's no one. Private, public sector, no one's done more of it. And then, right, it's all great if it works, but if people aren't taking away stuff from it, it's kind of hard, right? So this dashboard's an example of how, you know, you can pit your classrooms, you can pit senior and juniors against each other, who use less energy. How does it all work so that when they come out of this, right, hopefully they can go into some sort of STEM career. They can do whatever they want, but they're exposed to these STEM concepts. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Brandon. You want me to advance for you? Or?
Yeah, go.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, good morning. So Brandon Harper, pre-construction manager. What I wanted to show here is our level of effort right out of the gate. You know, Ryan's touched on the market where we're at. We've got to get ahead from day one in order to have our game plan, incorporate operations to get ahead of that inflation, to get ahead of any design or anything. That way, if we wait too long, we're going to have design changes, delays, et cetera. And you can go to the next one. As Ryan mentioned, speed to market. What that does is, you've heard them already. We have the playbook for these. So getting out of the gate is much easier for us. It's beneficial as far as time saving, speed to market is critical right now. That's just, I want to emphasize that as pre-construction. And this is one of the reasons. What we're seeing is, I don't know if you've heard of the Amazon effect. They have bought up so much steel in the market. And it's really hurt with lead times, cost, et cetera. So we're tracking those every day. You know, we're monitoring even now with global supply chain, Ukraine and Russia, they're a producer of a lot of aluminum. So we're watching that market and how it affects us. So sourcing locally as much as possible. We're watching second wave shutdowns as far as electrical gears go. But we're looking at all that early on. And then we're going to look at structural analysis. You know, I don't need to spend a lot of time here because Ryan touched on the complexes or the complexities of your project. But we're looking at this before it ever goes into construction. And this is just an example. We're no longer saying what's the bottom line, what's the dollars. We need to look at how that sequencing works, how that affects construction schedule, because time is money. So we're analyzing not only cost in pre-construction, but also time and delivery. And some of the ways we've mitigated those risks is looking at early packages. So main ones being site steel. We can get mobilized. It just helps these guys and girls down the road go ahead with their sequencing and schedule. And this is some of the projects for the past couple of years we've done that with and done successfully whenever we've been able to get out there and mobilize. And lastly, anything that we can prefabricate is key. You know, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but that's Jones County, I believe, where the rooftop units and everything's getting set. So ductwork, anything that we can do ahead of time. You know, you mentioned the hollow core, everything that is prefabricated helps exponentially, especially in this market.
Awesome. So, like I said, we're going to touch on how we're going to keep you guys safe here. Johnny's going to speak to it more, but this is Myrtle Beach Middle School. So it's an identical school to St. James that you toured. What we want to highlight here is we built this right next to two existing schools, right? So this road here, this was their active bus loop. This was their active parent drop-off loop. We never had an incident. And the reason we didn't have an incident is because we planned for it, right? We heard Johnny speak about it. All of our contractors are badged. We shut down work when we get into this area here because there's no point in trying to fight 50 Suburbans and minivans coming to pick kids up, right? You gotta learn where to go. And with that, Johnny?
So this is our site logistics plan for phase one. The red hashed area, shaded area is where the construction zone will be isolated from the rest of the campus. And we'll be aware of the flow of traffic, let's say whether it's a ball game or any kind of event. And we also, like Mr. Ryan said, all of our construction workers will have a sticker on their hat so we know that they work with us. And when we get in like to the early site package, we'll have some existing utilities that will need to be moved. And we'll have some not debris, but demo to do. Then once the demo is done, we'll complete the building. And then once the building's completed, we'll get you moved in. And then we'll switch over to phase two demo. And then phase two, pretty much do the same way. We'll fence it in, keep us separate from the rest of the campus. And then your temporary parking, it's on that other one, we'll go over here near the softball field.
Yep.
Ms. Keisha, Mr. Marquis.
Thanks, John. Marquise?
Yep, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about safety. So everybody knows safety is priority. Safety is number one. Our motto at Metcon is goal one, safety. We take safety very serious and we make it our priority on our job sites. So in North Carolina, there are 26 contractors that are part of the Building Star program. And what the Building Star program represents, it gives membership to 26 elite contractors showing excellence in safety. And basically what that Building Star program means is we go above and beyond the standard industry's standard practices for safety. So we take it very seriously. And right here is just some screenshots and some snippets of Procore, which you guys will all have access to. Procore helps us monitor and distribute safety observations to subcontractors. That way we can control any safety issues that come up or we see may be an issue. Again, this is Procore again. We also use it for quality control issues. Everybody wants their project, on time and on budget, but also at a very high quality. So this is another tool that we use in our progress of a project.
So I will be the project manager, and my responsibility is to control the budget, keep up with the schedule, and also keep an open line of communication. So everything that you heard everyone say before, I'm the hub to keep everything rolling from pre-con to construction. Here's an example of how we provide transparency to all parties involved, to the owner, to the subcontractors. This is just a shot of Procore. This is a shot of Procore, and also the mobile app that we have, so that at any time you can look at the schedule. You can look at how we're going with the project. What's the next one? I use a software called P6 to create the schedule and move that schedule through the Procore so that you can see it on a daily basis. That helps with the open and transparency. Next one. I'm also involved in pre-con where we do building integration modeling. So get with SFLA, put the building into 3 dimensions so that we can work out all the kinks before we get into construction. Also, I'm involved with selections of subcontractors. We have deep-rooted relationships with a lot of local subcontractors and also with hub subcontractors. Tia, talk a little bit about how we encourage those hub subcontractors to join us in our project.
All right, thank you, Keisha. So my job will be able to work with Ms. Keisha. My background is in the field as well, which will also help us get with subcontractors because I know exactly the things that these subcontractors are going to need to be successful for the project. So we got together as a team and we created this goal to meet 54%, which is probably high to you guys, but we've done it before. So we know that it's an achievable goal. We will be working with J&K. We'll be working with all the local subcontractors, getting involved into the community. And we have a lot of things in place that we've proven over the years that will work for subcontractors to be successful on their jobs. Obviously, we'll be working with our local community, and we'll be doing outreach programs. We'll make sure that all the subcontractors and people that are living in the community are very aware of what's going on. We'll try to make sure that they have all the information that they need to make sure that they are successful in making our project successful as well. So one of the things that we like to do is very early on is we set out outreaches. We go in the community, see what is needed, and we work together as a team to make sure that we put everything in place for everybody to work together. Not only is it our job to make sure our subcontractors are successful, but we want to make sure the youth is getting involved as well. So we'll be working with J&K, we'll be working with other companies, local apprenticeships will be set in place, workforce development, and just making sure that the youth also are getting involved to ensure that we are bringing up people in our construction market as well. Turn it over to Mr. Aaron for questions.
So that's the end of our formal presentation. I'd love to reserve maybe after the Q&A about 10 seconds for a brief close, but we'd love to have a conversation, any questions you might have.
So I think with this being an on-site replacement project and being a large project for Cook County, and you kind of talked about the safety features and keeping other parts of the campus operating while you're doing pre-construction or design construction. Do you foresee that we'll be able to keep this side of campus operational while that's happening? Or I know you had a map that you kind of talked about. How do you see that working, keeping us open while we're also doing that part of the project?
It'll always be evolving, as far as what's going on with us as well as what's going on with y'all.
Right.
And we've done it on elementary schools, college campuses, high schools. It'll take contact with us and y'all to, let's say we know what your calendar is.
Right.
You got graduation on this day. You don't want a lot of something going on over here. So, it would just take a lot of contact and we'd do whatever we had to make sure that your stuff is flowing as it would, as if we're not here as much as possible.
But I think specifically, yes, we have to get through design and understand where some of the utilities and everything are else at, although between Charles and Steve and Scott, I'm sure we can figure out that pretty quickly. But the plan currently for phase one was to basically take this over here. So you'd lose your parking lot, but we wanted to do that so that this parent drop-off loop could be established so that when we flip to phase two, that is established, right? This is done now and we're working over here. We always wanted to be able to have, even though it might not be ideal, we always wanted to at least have one area where you could still have drop-off. And then you saw back in phase one, the bus was remaining open. So we'd have to integrate some sort of the drop-off down here. And then all that parking was going out here in this field temporarily. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's logistically, I mean, you guys do it all the time, but that seems to be just, when you look at it at large, it's a lot of movement and making sure we have the safety for our students, which you kind of address. So I appreciate that.
This one.
Yeah, and I think it's, when we looked at it and we came out and done a couple site visits and, talked to Charles and talked to staff about it, we saw a quick parallel to this job. So I don't know if anybody's ever seen the Myrtle Beach Middle School. It's kind of right near Broadway at the beach at Myrtle Beach. But when we built that one, we had a live school. And it's kind of the same way because this road went through, which way did I go?
Wrong way.
Wrong way. All right, there we go. This road, very, very much like the situation here, goes through between active school, new school, active recreation facility. So, I mean, we were just totally surrounded. And so the idea is that we have to make a plan that totally separates construction from students. But not just that, it's also, even though we're separating, making sure that's the number one thing, what about your utilities? You're going to have to, there's going to be things under the footprint of the new building that are going to turn something else off on the old building. So we have to identify what all those things are and do what we call planned shutdowns. So if we have to turn off the electrical switch gear, and that might not even be the case, but maybe water, it may be fiber. We know we can't turn off any of those things, or school, can't operate. So we gotta just do planned shutdowns in order to relocate those things, turn them off on a Saturday, turn them off at night, so that the new connection can be made. And so all of that just requires very, very detailed planning. We've done it before. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I guess this question is probably for Keisha, but I'm not sure. How will you work with SFLA with, the rising of material costs?
With the rising of material costs?
Yeah.
That's more of a question for Brandon.
Well, I said.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Yeah, so what we're doing every day, it used to be in pre-construction, operations was really feeding me the lead times, what we're looking at. Well, those days are over. We're having to track not only cost and rising material, but the lead times. Can we get it in time, whether it's generators, switch gears, et cetera. So I bring everybody on this team in early, and we're talking about it. We're tracking everything from a Turner index, what it's looking like. Right now I think they're at 8% per year. But honestly, I get the best feedback from subcontractors. It's really all about relationships. So on a daily basis, we're talking to them.
Pick up from there.
Oh.
And so once they make a decision with SFLA as to what components they want to utilize, I get with subcontractors to make sure that it's brought to the job site immediately, especially for items with long lead times, or that's having complications with production. We try to get ahead of that quickly.
And specifically to working with SFLA, we've got a great relationship with Robbie and his team. They are constantly leaning on us of, what are you seeing here? What are you seeing here? So it's really just that open communication, and helping them with whether it's value engineering ideas, not just cost savings, but again, time and on that material.
Have you found that you've had to switch out materials, like concrete as opposed to something else because of availability?
I would say electrically, we've had to, I know Ryan, you're experiencing it right now on Harnett. I know Tia, you've got some stories from Bain Elementary. Yeah, I would say electrical, for the most part, just because of, if you're looking at 60 weeks for a generator, you gotta open that school.
So what about like the beams coming from Portland, Oregon?
Mm-hmm.
Are we expecting a delay? Because
That's a good question.
I think that just speaks to early and often, right? So I can't specifically say if those beams are, we would assume, right? But that's why and Keisha could pull up if we had it ready, but on our schedule too, right? It's just not how long is it going to take to build it. Now half of our schedule is procurement based, and it has to be. We used to, not laziness, but it was easy. I'd be like, I can get bar joist in 12 weeks. Then that way, since I started building, it took how long to get your bar joist on, Erwin?
6 months.
6 months.
And you did an early steel package on your, can you speak about that?
Yeah, so we did like you said, the meeting way before we even signed on with any subcontractors. We knew that was going to be a problem. So we've sat down with the architect and our owners, and they agreed to go ahead and releasing that steel package before we even broke ground. And we wouldn't have actually been on time if that hadn't happened. So those conversations are being had early on, and it really helps having a good owner's rep and an architect to work together to know that these are things that we have no control over. And we just have to sit down at the table, figure out the best solution, and be able to work together, make sure that everybody's on the same team, that it may not be the ideal answer. But in order to get your school when you need it, that may be something that you may experience.
So Tia, I'm gonna brag on Tia just a second. She just built in this time frame, the only school they had, they got finished in 12 months. When I say she built it, I mean she built it. She was the lead superintendent on Nation's Ford Elementary School for Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. The main dog running the whole show. So where all these men failed to get their stuff done on time, she got it done. And then after that, they gave her another one. And so she's finishing the second one right now, which is our third school with CMS in a row. When does that one finish?
It finished July 15th, and that actually, like Brandon said, the electrical panels, the generators, the switch gears, every time we've gotten, information from a manufacturer because of COVID, we've had a hiccup. And so we sat down with the architect, we sat down with the owner, we were very upfront, we let them know that these manufacturers are not holding up their end of the bargain. We went to the manufacturer's offices with the architect. We sat down and waited for them to come out of meetings. We will do whatever it needs to do, but whatever that hurdle is, you have to have that solid team. And that's exactly what is making this project successful, even with the issues that we're having.
So in doing that, all coming together, collaborating, does that sustain the cost,
We have been able to get, refunds, because we've had to make the changes in the manufacturer. So we've been able to, it's been maybe small increases, and I don't do the money side, so I can't speak on that side, but say whatever the money in cost was for the new product, we were able to help, get to an end goal to where it wasn't sustainable for you guys.
And really with pre-construction and the money part, of course, they're gonna have to deal with items that come up in the field once it's construction, but the one benefit the last couple of years has given us is we've really become educated on all of this. So we're able to catch it a lot earlier on. We're paying attention, so we're trying to get it.
I believe that's what we started with, about the experience.
Yeah.
That experience has given us an absolute education in knowing all the pieces and parts it takes to build a school. And that's what this slide was about. Not just how much they cost, but how long does it take to get it? So we know how long it takes to get, we know generators a year. We know that bar joists are 10 months. So we're either gonna have to use something else, or we're gonna have to buy it in time, like Tia did at CMS, where we went to the school board and said, I know this doesn't sound right, guys, but we need to order this steel now before, they hadn't even signed our contract yet. They signed our contract and we ordered the steel at the same time. Because we knew we needed to order it that earlier, we wouldn't be able to get the school built.
Can you talk about like how that communication looks when there is a change like that, or throughout, like, what does that look like, your kind of cycle of communication? You tend to go, well, that comes from.
Starts with her. I can,
Okay.
it does start with me. So if I get communication from the subcontractor that they're having an issue with product, I make sure they get me timelines of order dates, which I should know of, and also post on the schedule, letters from manufacturers. That way I can bring it to the table and let the owner know, okay, this is the situation we're facing. In the interim, I'm working and negotiating with the subcontractors and the manufacturers to find the best fit option that meets the specification of the design. If necessary, I'll reach back out to my pre-con team so we can brainstorm and come up with something that will fit. So that's how I kind of streamline. After that, go to the owner. We try not to increase the price. I do everything in my power in my communication with the subcontractors to keep the price where it is and the manufacturers. And then, of course, talk to the architects and we implement it into the building.
I mean, for specific problems, yeah, we like to have OAC meetings every 2 weeks. And we understand how busy you guys are being educators, but we do ask for everyone to be at the table at the same time. And that's probably the best place to not only talk about what's coming up, but to follow up on old items and just close it out. And that, I think we all got kind of used to Zoom meetings the last couple of years. Yeah. They can be effective. We like to do it sitting across the table from you as much as we can.
At what point, if, let's say the school district wants to make a change in the design or location or something, how does that become, I guess, an issue with construction, or how is that discussed with the school district?
Well, the best time to make a change, obviously, is during design, but I'm glad that you guys chose CM at risk, right? Because what that means is the entire pre-construction team, as well as the operations team, are going to be at the table with y'all throughout the entire design. Because right now you've hired the architect, but they still got to design it. And while they've done probably some sketches and some, 3 or 4 conceptual drawings, they're going to turn those 3 or 4 sheets of drawings into 100 sheets of drawings or 150 sheets of drawings. So the whole time that that's happening, we are sitting at the table with you guys. We are budgeting. We're telling you that, we're telling you what we've learned about all the products that you've chosen. We're giving you that feedback to say, we don't think you're gonna be able to get bar joist in time, but we can use light gauge truss. And and we're also, we're also looking at, like, see the red circle around that one? We picked that light gauge truss and deck that goes between those big glue lamps.
Even better.
Ah, that's them right there. These trusses that sit on top those are metal frame trusses. And so you could use bar joists in that scenario too. But when we were in pre-construction, we learned that one, it was gonna take too long to get bar joists. Two, bar joists were gonna be more expensive. And three, we proposed a solution that got the sound ratings we were looking for. We could get it more quickly and it saved a little bit of money. So basically we'll be doing that all in all. And so when you're asking about changes that you want to implement, you're giving that feedback the whole time. Now that's, and then at every phase, Brandon talked about those phases, SD, DD, DD, CD, we're going to be doing a new estimate. As he increases the sheets from 3 to 5 to 50 to 100, we keep doing estimates and giving you feedback. And so you know what the price is. And so you also are able to ask, well, what about this? Could we do this? And so that's the best time. And we'll tell you what the answer to that question is. And the answer is always yes, you can do anything you want to do. But we want to tell you how much it'll cost and what the impacts are schedule-wise and logistic as far as supply chain. And then once you get into construction, if you decide to change something, we just gotta, you can do that as well. We just are gonna be here to tell you what the impacts of changing it are, time-wise and money-wise, and bring that information back to you guys so you can make a decision.
So the subs, they bid it out. And let's say that they can't get the product in and stuff, and then they find the product and the price goes up, like a whole lot. So how do y'all pass that on, or you just have to? Well,
one thing is and I'll let Keisha talk about what happens once we're on the project, but we've been doing this so much the last 3 or 4 years. Our goal is that you don't have any cost above the GMP, because we know the generators take a year. We know that switch gears taking a year. We know of all the anomalies in the market. And so we're going to have that covered in the schedule and in the plans and in the scope of work and in the subcontractor's price. We're also going to have appropriate contingencies for anything during design that comes up that you may not have the answer yet. Like crazy things like roof insulation right now. They can't even tell you how much it costs right now. So we're going to plan for all those things. And then I'll let Keisha talk about if something else comes. So with all of that, I'd say we're going to have 98% of it covered, because we've got so many schools going. We know what all the trap holes are. But then, say there's a new one. There's a new supply chain. It was a few weeks ago, it was, they had the thing about baby formula. So it's not like new stuff can't come up. So if something new comes up, we've got appropriate contingencies in our GMP to cover it, and then Keisha handles it from there.
Pretty much he covers it. He covered it. In pre-con, we have in the specifications 3 options. At that time, that gives the subcontractor an opportunity to say, I cannot get X, Y, and Z. So you have to ask, can I submit this? Can this be a substitution? So substitution requests happen up front. After that, we do a scope review. When we debrief the subcontractors, they have to tell us, I can or I cannot. And then we can move to the next one. Or it gives us an idea that we need to find something that is comparable. So we try to mitigate that up front.
So do you have another sub on the side or something that does the same kind of work, or like you can't get it, so I can't get them out? Or?
We had 3 subcontractors. We debrief 3 subcontractors at all times. After we do the bid, we debrief 3, so you always have a second as on standby.
And obviously we're open book too. I think that's important to point out, Scott. So we're your fiduciary, meaning that it's by the general statute, we are here to manage your money, basically your personal banker. So the budget is open book. So it's, we show you all costs and let you make the decision. I think that's a big differentiation from doing it where, like a general contractor, because a general contractor, they're always looking to see how they can make more money from every scenario. In our scenario, we're getting paid the same fee that you guys are paying us to be for providing you with professional service. And we're working at the table for y'all and putting the options down to let y'all make the decisions. So all the sub costs, here they are, 100% transparent, giving you all the information you need to make an informed decision. And then I think J&K, being on our team and partnering with us is big too, because that's not only the hundreds of projects that we have in this area, it's also all the projects that J&K's got going on in this county with knowing more and more subcontractors to help solve these problems in these tight supply chain times.
You had mentioned like prefab too, but does that tend to be more costly to go when you have something that's already prefabricated, like the centralized system? Is that more expensive or does it speed up the process?
Not necessarily. We've used Holocore in the past to actually save on costs. So, when you do load bearing CMU, it changes Ryan and the operations team sequencing a little bit and what that schedule may look like, but not necessarily.
Those labor dollars are a lot cheaper when it's being built in a warehouse with a roof on it. They might have a fan. I'm not saying it's air conditioned, right? But you're able to control those units. If we're out in the field building the whole job out of block, which we know how to do well. Well, if it rains for 4 days, I don't have any control over that. And so those labor costs can be they can be variable, or we can control those labor costs when we prefabricate.
But we also have to look at it in real time because stuff's changing so fast.
Yeah.
And labor shortages. And I mean, in some instances, the prefabricated part can be more, but it's saving so much in time that it might be worth it. Or we might decide we don't think that this one's worth it and make that recommendation.
I think with all these questions, the last three, right, it's options. And like Aaron said, it's our job to present you with those options and give you all the information about the time impact, the money impact. And let's say when something pops up and it's going to be a week late, and we have a solution that costs $50,000 to be, you might decide to be a week late and save $50,000, right? Those are those options that we just want to communicate to you.
Marquise, what are some of the safety issues that you've had encountered? How have you addressed them?
Yeah, so we look for safety issues every day, and superintendents more so a lot out there. We take safety observations. Some of the ones I've seen are maybe like, make sure you barricade around an open hole. Make sure we got this hole covered up, or let's fix this silk fence over here, or let's make sure we got our fence properly, up and nobody can get in. Like, so.
Have you had somebody fall in the hole?
No.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm just
We're trying to catch that where that happens. Yeah, but we also have a safety manager that visits the sites regularly, and he also does a lot of safety observations, and they come around and they give us tips and advice a whole lot. But all our subs know there's no one safety. We have safety meetings every morning and weekly. Yeah.
So this is a tool, but specifically on your campus, what I'm worried about is this, right?
Right.
Walking down the hallway.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were talking the other day about, wasn't on our job, but incident happened where someone was just looking on their phone on a construction site and there was a pretty bad accident, right? So the more we can do to have signs up and literally just keep them out, because they will just walk in front of something, right? Because I'm guilty of it too. These phones is the biggest safety thing we see on the jobs these days. People being distracted.
Y'all basically use the same subs over and over, y'all just open the bidding out to new subs, or?
We pre-qualify the subs, but we have such a huge cadre of local subs. I mean, any local sub of any size and the local subs, I mean, they're already working with us. They're working with us at Fayetteville State, they're working with us at UNC Pembroke, they're working with us at Robinson County Schools, they're working with us at JLARC, J&K and Metcon. They're, we don't have to refigure that out. We're always open to bringing in new folks to supplement, and like Tia said, she's always looking hard, and we're always looking hard to bring in as many additional minority and woman-owned subs as we can. But, you know, we got the best record in the state at doing that now. And so, you know, we can always build on what we've done, but we have a big following.
I know you did a great job down at Fort County, you had to go from one school to the next school.
Yeah, that was five at one time.
Yeah, so I know that was.
That's where I picked this gray up at. I'm younger than I look.
That'd be tough for anybody.
Maybe because you'll thin a little bit.
Yeah.
Ms. Bowie, did you have a question?
I did. I heard the word intern, and I didn't quite understand whether we were talking about students or new construction people.
So we do both. We have a strong intern program that we actually do every summer. Right now, we've got roughly 10 to 15 interns, I believe, throughout our whole company. And we also starting to do apprenticeships with small companies. So what my job is me having a field background. I see the struggles that small contractors have on a day-to-day basis that they just have not really been exposed to just because of lack of experience. So my job will be able to sit down with Ms. Keisha and say, okay, this seems to be ready for the next phase of their construction career.
Okay.
We will sit down and go through the questions and find out exactly where they're at in their company. And we will try to make sure that they know how Metcon and J&K does work. We'll go through little training programs and things like that. And we'll just try to give them as much information that they can handle to make sure that they're successful at the beginning and getting to the bid, as well as throughout the project, because it's easy to get to a bid. You know, you just throw a number out there. You've got the job, but you may not know how to read your contract. You may not understand how to read your schedule, you know, so things like that, we will start to go through, and that'll be my job to make sure that they understand those documents. So if we ever get into a situation, they understand how to come to the table. And at that point, I don't know what other CMs are doing. So hopefully our goal is to make sure they're better as a company as a whole. One, that'll help them on their next project with Metcon, but that will also help you as a community because that makes them a stronger subcontractor. So we'll be going through the youth as well as companies and pretty much teaching them the same.
Thank you.
Tia,
Ma'am.
how do you do your outreach? Do you initiate the outreach?
I will be. So a couple of ideas that I've had with Charlotte that I saw would be fit. We have a lot of people that walk the site, walk the city, you know, on the bus system. So depending on the locations of each job, I will actually strategically look at the surroundings. And if it's on a bus, you know, truck route, I may put up signs, you know, and say contact X, Y, and Z at this time because they may not have a car to go drive somewhere. And that would also determine where the outreach programs or the outreach meetings will be. If they can't get there by car or by bus, then they're not coming. And most times these meetings are in locations that a lot of people just can't get to. So I will have to actually look at the strategic locations, which you seem to be obviously central to a lot of people being able to walk through. So I'll put up a lot of signs, make sure that they can get to someone, and then we'll figure out each person is going to have different needs. And we'll just say, okay, well, if you got 6 people today, you know, maybe you guys, you know, can do carpool, and we'll figure out some strategic how to get you to that meeting.
Any other questions?
You know, when you do like when you get toward the end of completion and stuff, do y'all do like a bunch of walkthroughs and who's included in that, or y'all just do them and?
I'll speak to that. So Charles, you experienced when we did Sandy Grove. We actually we used to offer, we would ask nicely, do you want us to videotape it? Sometimes people would say no, and then 2 years later, they would have lost the stuff. So we videotape every training we do. And we sit down and go over the as-built. They're all digital. We typically give all that over on an iPad, right? So here's your iPad. You have the books as well. That way it's a lot easier these days to flip through and pull up the information, hit the links. Specifically, every single mechanical system's gone through. We videotape that training. If there's like lighting controls, for example, we bring in the lighting controls rep to have a training session, and then we videotape that so that in the future, right, if someone's new, one day you'll retire, right?
Yes.
Someone could have that information.
Not for a while.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, normally, I got the pleasure of putting together all those books. Yeah, those things you're talking about, 3-4 inch binder, so flash drive is very effective. It comes tab, you know how you can pull up whatever kind of, PDF document viewer you got. Comes tab, you can see any section you want, you got the videos. But I find the only book you probably really want is probably like your warranty book, like where all the subs have signed in warranties and stuff. So if something breaks, we always hear also. And so if something breaks, the name will be listed, the contact, their position, and also what they did on the project. So if you have any issues.
So who typically, who do you typically have come to those closeouts? I think it's part of this question.
Yeah, most of the time we sent out an email. I think she coordinated a lot of the trainings.
It all depends on what the owner is looking for. So for all of the systems, I contact the primary representative for the school and have them give me a list of contacts that they would like to participate in the training. So I would have facilities training for each system. I would do a walkthrough maybe once or twice if desired with the commissioners or whomever they would like to do a walkthrough with. I've conducted training with the cafeteria personnel. So all that is also spelled out and discussed with the architect. So we can put in the specifications so that everybody knows when we get 10 weeks or 2 weeks or so many weeks before closing out, let's set up these meetings and have these various walkthroughs.
Well, I know that like when Charles did Samuel Miller, he would tell me stuff like, I know he did a lot of walkthroughs that way. Because you can ask him about anywhere in that school, he knows where it's at, like plumbing, electrical, and he knows everything's at. And I think that'd be good for me and Chad to walk through something and say, hey, this is where the, plumbing, just to get a visual. And that way, if anything ever comes up, which it has, you know kind of where it's at, under the concrete or somewhere in the walls.
I do a lot of documentation in Pro4, the system, the web-based system. So I'll have one of my guys stand in the middle of the room throughout the process of construction, so we can document all the walls as they're going up and what's happening in those walls. So at the end, we can give you a photo dump broken down by room, so you can see in this particular room, this is how that room came up. I did walk with the facility managers, the mechanical electrical plumbing of Harnett County, and periodically they'll just walk the building with me so they can get a feel as it's going up as well where we are.
I think that's what we were trying to ask is, him being a facility manager and people in his department could call and schedule, say, okay, do you mind if we stop by here for a few hours just to walk the building out? So we get an idea of what's going on.
Probably every quarter, or once we get the walls up, it's important that you see. At the beginning, when we're laying pipe underground or however the building's designed, we do ask you to come out and take a look safely. And then as the walls are going up, once we get the walls up, we get a feel for what the core is and what some of the major components are. So I do ask you probably every 3 months.
You will
Or as much as
absolutely
you
love.
want to. Anytime you want to come look around and see something going on, like I said, we have meetings usually every 2 weeks. Usually we have them in the job trailer on the site. So, you can come anytime, but if you come to that meeting, you can see where we're at every other week.
I mean, that'd be good because you don't forget things you see,
Yeah,
from the
and
building trade.
you have a hard
Just don't
hat
forget
and
to see it in the ground or see it in the wall, you just don't.
you'd be welcome to come anytime. Yes, sir.
And just one last thing, put the nail in that coffin. You'll also have this BIM model on that iPad we turn over.
Okay.
So any place you want to walk up in a room, it's literally like peeling the onion, right? You can see what's up there and in what level and how it's installed.
Okay.
How it's routed back. So like, let's say you have a light out and you want to know where that circuit runs. That BIM model will show you that. And you can isolate by layers as well. Pretty slick tool.
And you'll love, when Keisha was talking about the photo dump, this is our Procore app. And you can go to all of the stuff that Marquise is gonna be working on, submittals. You might want to see what were the belts, what were the this, what were that, and the air handler. You just find that submittal, pull it up and look at it. In addition to the O&M mans and in the pictures, she's meticulous. She has, if I want to go in any of our jobs and see the best organization they keep it best organized. I can flip, go to photos. Before I get into bed at night, I'll be flipping through all the jobs, and I can go to this job. I can go to the east wing, west wing, clear story. You have them categorized. You see all the pictures. So everybody here will have that. You can download the app on your phone. It's free. And you'll not only be able to follow it all the way through construction, all the work that Marquise and Johnny and Keisha are doing full-time on the site every day, it's all in that app. And I mean, when we do closeout, she will burn all of those files and put them on digital folder we give you. So really, literally, you'll have tens of thousands of pictures.
It's completely transparent. Everything I do, I want to be open with my clients, with the owners, and throughout the entire project. And at the end, I turn it all over to you.
Do any board members have any last questions? If not, I'm going to turn it back over to Erin if you want to close us out.
I was going to ask Erin about Clay Scott, the estimator down there.
Yes, ma'am.
Did y'all drive him crazy? He drives y'all crazy.
It's a combination.
It's a combination. Yeah, it's a combination. So you got him on.
You know Clay Scott?
Yeah.
Okay.
You've got him on the TV line. I figure he's one of those big dogs. Somebody in there's got to be driving each other crazy.
He and Brandon work together on the estimating team, and he's got what we decided to start doing, because these buildings are so complex, especially from a system standpoint, like Ryan was talking about. When we did Sandy Grove, Clay worked for MW Electric, which is the electrician. And so he now works on our staff because we need that expertise from those electrical systems, because it's such a big part of these energy positive buildings. So he'll be working on that side of it, pricing, lead times, and all of that, just like you would have for an electrical contractor. But we have that capability in-house on our team full time.
Yeah, he's been a huge asset. To be able to it's about relationships, right? So any questions, whether we're comparing diesel versus natural gas generators, he makes one phone call and we've got the information in 5 minutes. So he's been great.
And so, just in closing, appreciate the opportunity to be here this afternoon, or this morning rather. And I want to come back to the word experience. When you look at our team, I mean, this is a deep rooted experience. I mean, everybody that's sitting up here has built schools over and over and over again, and not just schools, but schools with SFLA. And so that experience, as Ryan said, you got to have a CMAR. You look at that structure, how complex it is, how it goes together. And to your question, ma'am, about can you get the beams from Oregon? That's a heck of a good question. That's important, because it doesn't do no good to get the rest of it up. You can't put the beams on it. And so that experience and us knowing who those vendors are, we have 4 vendors we source those things from out west. We have to get on the phone and talk to all 4 of them. Yeah. If you hadn't done this before, you don't know. You're just Googling, trying to start and figure out. So experience. Number 2, it's interesting that your questions that you guys ask us are like, this is what your questions were. So it tells me what you think is most important is also what we thought was most important. But it's the experience of having a detailed plan at having 0 impact to the campus for students and to utilities to keep the school open 100% of the time. Number 3, intimate relationships. J&K and Metcon and all of this team that's sitting here that lives in Robeson and Hope County. Everybody here lives in Hope and Robeson County. We know these subs better than anybody. And that experience will help drive your price down and help be able to get things when other people can't get it. If you got more work than you can do, who are you going to work with? Somebody that you know is going to treat you fair, somebody you work with over and over again. And the guy that just calls from out of town is like, I'm not interested in that. Number 4, protecting the budget against supply chain and inflation. We've talked about that a lot, how we plan for that, how our experience in planning for that has led us to be successful in these trying times. And then last, the way my granddaddy always put it was, do what brung you. I don't know if y'all ever heard that term before, but he always said, son, you got to do what brung you, meaning that do what you know works. Do what has made you successful. And so I'll leave you with that. We've had a heck of a great partnership together. We've done amazing things together. We've done the best school in the United States together. So let's do it again. Thank you.
Thank you. Do what from you.
Do what brung you.
Do what from
Do
you.
what brung you?
Do what brung you.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Something like that.
I understood it.
It was hard. It was hard.
Thank you
Pretty
very
tough.
much. See you again.
Yes, ma'am.
You guys can leave it there. Yeah, good to see you, Charles.
Good to see you, Dale.
Cleaning up, putting your chairs away. I appreciate it. Well, it's nice meeting you.
Great to meet
Thank you very much. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Pleasure.
Did you play any sports? We have to ask you if that old uniform fit you.
Basketball, football, and baseball.
Did you really? What year did you graduate?
Oh, yeah. I don't know, I'm about 3 years from 30, I don't know.
Yeah, you're young, you're young. Class of 2013.
You wouldn't,
Don't
you
ask
wouldn't
these
go to
ladies
school after
what
year.
class.
After a year, I went to ECU.
Okay,
Graduated in 2019.
awesome.
I think that's
Great,
good.
appreciate it.
So most every
That's
day.
nice though to have that butt pride running
Oh,
through
yeah.
your blood.
I'm excited.
That's important. That's gonna be really important for this project. Yeah, this is the so there's a lot of, legacy families, and a lot of history and tradition. That's gonna be really important that we try to transfer as much of that as we can.
Since we gotta take up, buildings.
Exactly. Like, yeah, I remember mine when I was
Our board members went to this school. So when we talk about like demolishing, try to be, not to use that word a lot, but it's like, yeah, repurpose.